In today's video, we're going to be tying the Popovic's Jiggy fly, which is a great alternative to the clouser minnow, as well as a fantastic fly for getting down deep and targeting species further down in the water column. A great fly for weakfish, striped bass, bluefish as well, so let's get right into it. If you're looking for great information about tying the Jiggy and fishing it as well, check out Popflyes because it's a fantastic book and it's one of my favorites. For materials, we're going to be using some S71 SNP-DT, the O'Shaughnessy hooks, some size 1/0. We have some cones here. I don't necessarily know what size, but you could mix and match and try some different weight cones. We have some lead wire now. This is the lead wire I've been using, 0.025. It's a good diameter, not too thick and not too small. You can use any diameter lead wire that you want. I have some Danville monofilament thread here, but you can feel free to use whatever thread you like. I have some Krystal Flash here. We're going to be tying a pink and white one, so I'm going to be using some pink Krystal Flash. I also have some Bill's body braid here, is what I have left of a spool. And then we have bucktails. Now you can tie the jiggies with synthetic materials, but I'm going to be using some white and some pink bucktail for this fly. And last but not least, I have some size 3 diameter stick-on eyes from saltwaterflies.com. All right, we're going to start off. We're going to take one of our hooks here, and what we're going to do is we're going to bend it. Now I'm using the vise here because these Regal jaws are pretty tough, but you could use a pair of pliers. And I'm just going to slightly put a bend in the eye. I'm going to slightly put a bend in the right around the eye of the hook. This will help turn it upside down and give it some more action. Okay, now before we do anything, we're going to take one of our little cones here. We're going to slip our cone on the hook just like that. So I have my mono thread spooled up. I like to tie a little bit of thread right behind the cone. We're just going to tie the lead wire down real quick, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap it. Just wrap it into essentially like a ball. You got to figure out exactly how much you need without having too much. But what we can do is we can now push that lead wire behind the cone, essentially. If you're having a hard time, you can use something like a pair of pliers to really force that in there. Just to give you an idea, you can see that lead wire pushed inside of that cone right there. So now we can just wrap our thread here. What I like to do is take some of this Bill's body braid, take a little bit of super glue here, and then we'll wrap this Bill's body braid on, leaving ourselves some room right by the cone. And then we'll just secure that. And we're going to take some bucktail. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull some of the shorter hairs out the back so we get our nice longer hairs. And we're going to flip the hook upside down. I'm going to tie this white bucktail on top. So I'm just going to size it up. And then I'll go ahead and just tie that white bucktail right on top, just like this. And I like to keep my ties close to the cone. Normally you'd be pushing that material inside of the cone. We filled the cone with lead wire so it sinks even faster. It's going to give us a nice up and down action to it. So you can see we've got our white bucktail on there. You can always add some more or less. I'm keeping it pretty sparse. I'm going for like pseudo sand eel / spearing, larger spearing. I'm going to take some Krystal Flash here. You don't need much. I probably took off a piece or two more than I wanted, but that's all right. I'll just thin that out a little. We'll take our flash and we're just going to fold it in half, just like this. We can level it out. And we're just going to loop it. And tie that just like so right on there. And we'll tie it right on top. So it sits right on top of the white bucktail. Kind of get that evenly spread on either side. And now we can go ahead and just tie some pink bucktail on. All right, so we've got our pink bucktail here, which I've thinned out quite a bit to get all the smaller hairs out. So we'll just go ahead and tie our pink on top here. And this hair being tied the way it is, is going to help turn this hook over, as well as the lead wire and the cone head itself. Now we're just going to essentially cover up our bucktail here at the top, making sure it's not flaring out around the cone. Take a little bit of super glue here, just because this is what I like doing when I put on stick-on eyes. Tiny bit right behind the cone. We could take our stick-on eyes, and we're going to put these essentially right behind the cone. We'll almost tuck it up into the cone slightly if we can. Because what we're going to do is we're going to apply UV resin right behind the cone. We're going to help fill in that little gap. The transition from the cone to the body of the fly. And that'll also give us a little bit more weight to help this thing turn over and get some nice action. We can take our UV resin here. We have some medium Solarez resin. And I'm just going to fill that gap. I'm going to coat those eyes, make sure that the resin goes a little bit behind the eyes so it coats some of that bucktail as well, just a tiny bit. We don't want to mess with the structure of the fly. And then I can take my light here and just cure that after letting that kind of seep in to all the cracks. If we need to, we can always apply another coat there, because some of that resin is going to spread and probably go inside of the cone, fill some of the gaps where that lead wire is. In fact, I'll go ahead and just apply a little bit more here. Particularly kind of favoring the bottom a little bit. And you can see we kind of have a nice transition from the cone to the head. We almost get a nice bullet head. And that right there is a Jiggy. Nice and simple. A very quick and effective fly, and a great alternative to the clouser minnow, by the way. See that body braid on the bottom? And again, this thing has some nice weight to it. It's going to have some great jigging action in the water. Thank you for tuning in again for another fly tying video here on the channel. We've recently been streaming live here on YouTube and Twitch at the same time, but we do live fly tying here on YouTube, so feel free to check that out, as well as you can check out the previous live streams of us tying flies. A mix of commercial fly tying and regular. Thank you so much, and until next time, hopefully you have a great season out there and tight lines.